The average US freelance designer goes 47 days between a finished project and the cash actually hitting their account. That's not the gap between jobs. That's the gap inside one job. From final files delivered to Stripe payout cleared. So when personal finance people tell you to save 3 months of expenses, they're giving you advice built for someone with a paycheck. You don't have a paycheck. You have a queue. Today, we're going to figure out what your emergency fund actually needs to be. And the number is probably bigger than you think, but for a reason, that'll make you feel better, not worse. Here's where we're going. By the end of this video, you'll have a specific dollar figure tied to your own expenses, your own client mix, and your own risk tolerance. We'll also talk about something almost no one mentions: the second emergency fund. Most freelancers don't know they need one. The ones who figure it out tend to keep their businesses alive through bad years. The ones who don't, fold. We'll get to that. First, the math. The 3 to 6 month rule comes from W-2 logic. If you get laid off, unemployment kicks in, and you start applying for jobs the next Monday. Most salaried roles get refilled in 8 to 14 weeks. Freelancers don't get unemployment in most states, not really. And the sales cycle for a new design client, the cold inquiry, the discovery call, the proposal, the contract, the deposit, averages around 6 to 8 weeks before any money moves. That's just to start the next project. Then add net 30 or net 60 payment terms. So a freelancer's real income gap, from client ghosts me to new money in account, is closer to 4 to 6 months, minimum. So the floor isn't 3 months, the floor is 5. Let's build your number. Start with what I'd call your survival budget, not your lifestyle budget. Survival. Rent or mortgage, say $800 utilities and phone, $220 groceries, $500 health insurance, $450 transportation, $200 minimum debt payments, $300 software you actually need to work, $80. That's the sample. Yours will differ. The key word is survival. Netflix is out, the gym is out, eating out is out. This is the number that keeps you housed, fed, insured, and able to deliver work. Multiply by 5. That's your personal emergency fund floor. For most freelance creatives in mid-cost US cities, the real number lands between $15,000 and $25,000. Now here's where it gets interesting. You have a business. Your business has its own emergencies. And they're not the same as your personal ones. A laptop dies mid-project. A subscription auto-renews for a year at $600. A client disputes a charge and Stripe claws back $4,000 while it investigates. You owe quarterly taxes and the client who was supposed to fund them paid late. You need to hire a contractor to finish a job because you got sick. None of those are personal expenses. All of them can sink a freelance business in a week. The rule of thumb I'd give you: 1 to 2 months of business operating expenses, plus your largest single client's typical invoice. Why that last part? Because a chargeback or a non-payment on your biggest invoice is statistically the most likely cash shock you'll face. For most solo creatives, the business fund sits between $4,000 and $8,000. Smaller than personal. Just as important, that's the number from the opening. Quick practical bit. Don't keep this money in your checking account. You'll spend it. Don't put it in an index fund either. It needs to be liquid the day you need it. A high-yield savings account at a reputable bank, currently paying somewhere around 4 to 4.5% APY as of recording, is the standard answer. On $23,000, that's roughly $80 to $90 a month in interest. Not life-changing, but it's $1,000 a year for doing nothing. Keep the personal fund and the business fund in separate accounts, even separate banks if you can. The friction of moving money between them is a feature, not a bug. It stops you from raiding the business fund for a vacation. If you're starting from zero, $23,000 sounds like a wall. It isn't. Here's the math on 3 realistic savings rates. Saving $500 a month, 47 months, just under 4 years. Saving $1,000 a month, 23 months, under 2 years. Saving 1/500 month, 16 months. Most freelancers I'd talk to land at the $500 to $1,000 range while they're building. That's fine. The point isn't to sprint. The point is to make it automatic. A common approach: route 10% of every client payment straight to the emergency fund the day it lands. You don't decide. The transfer is already set up. By the time you notice it, the money's gone. Here's the part nobody mentions. The emergency fund isn't really for emergencies. Most freelancers who have one rarely touch it. What it actually does is change how you negotiate. When a client tries to lowball you, or pushes back on a kill fee, or wants to extend terms to net 60, you can say no. You can walk. Because there's 6 months of runway sitting in an account doing nothing except making you harder to push around. That's the real return on this money. Not the 4% interest. The leverage. If you want the spreadsheet I used to calculate the sample numbers in this video, it's linked below. Free. No email required. Next week, we're looking at how freelance creatives should actually handle quarterly taxes, including the rule of thumb that's been wrong since 2018. See you then.